Thank you. Welcome everyone to the Rotary Club of Jacksonville Zoom at noon meeting. I will now call to order the meeting of the Rotary Club of Jacksonville. We have a packed program today and plan to adjourn by 12:45. During this program, everyone will be on mute, so please feel free to submit questions by utilizing the chat function. Today's invocation will be provided by Russell Grice.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Please join me in a word of prayer. Lord, we are thankful for this day that you have given us, for its blessings, its opportunities, and its challenges. May we appreciate and use each new day that comes to us, and we pray strength and guidance for each day's duties and for each day's problems. May we be challenged to give our best always, and may we be assured of your presence within us. Amen.
Thank you, Russell. We have more blue badges to present today. A part of our new member process is presenting a blue badge to new members who have completed parts 1 and 2 of new member orientation and been in the club at least 6 months. We have a great membership team. I want to thank Shelby Dorsey for her continuous service to set up each meeting, and Warren Jones, who serves on the committee. These meetings switched quickly from face-to-face to virtual Zoom meetings back in March. Today, our membership chairman and president-elect designee, Jim Agee, will present our newest blue badge recipients. I will now turn it over to Jim.
Thank you very much, Jerry. My pleasure to introduce our new blue badge folks. First one up, Sherry, if you can pull up the slides. If not, sing out and I can do it. There we go. Is David Ray. David's classification is associations, Goodwill, and he's the CEO of Goodwill Industries. David grew up in Key West. He went to college in Gainesville, has an undergraduate and a master's degree in accounting from the University of Florida. David came to Jacksonville 15 years ago and worked in the home building industry. David's family in Jacksonville includes a 16-year-old daughter, 13-year-old son, sister, and 3 nieces. David's hobbies include basketball, which he isn't doing much of now due to COVID, tennis, and golf, and I expect him to help Ed McCarthy build a team to beat Mendenack. I talked to David and soon realized he is very passionate about Goodwill's mission to help people with physical and mental health issues overcome any barrier to improving their lives. David is eager to network with fellow Rotarians, and he was quick to explain to me that today's Goodwill is not just a retail operation. Goodwill Industries has a training facility, helps adults finish their education, increase their skill sets, and is partnered with government programs such as work release and even staffing the Navy Jacks Chow Hall. David has volunteered to put his accounting degree to use on our audit committee, and I'm going to encourage David to help us as we reorganize our local charity foundation. Next up is Linda Lindenmoyer. Her classification is real estate relocation services. Her sponsor is like David's sponsor, Cindy Stover, our past president of the Rotary Club of Jacksonville. Linda Lindenmoyer is a broker and vice president of relocation services at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Florida Network Realty, and has enjoyed managing local corporations' employee relocation programs for over 21 years. Her team supports local corporations in their talent acquisition needs by providing area orientation tours to showcase all that Jacksonville has to offer, and then ensures a smooth relocation by assisting the newcomers' home finding needs in Northeast Florida, and then the sale of their current home anywhere in the country, as well as temporary housing, coordinating household goods shipment, and any other relocation need. She's on the board of Leadership Jacksonville, the Baptist Downtown Hospital Development Council, and is chair of Jax USA Partnerships Business Development Committee, assisting new companies in choosing Northeast Florida as the location to relocate or expand their business. On a personal note, Linda enjoys time with her 2 grown sons and their wives, and her newborn grandson. She also enjoys water sports, including boating, kayaking. Take note, Bill Mason, I know you're a big kayaker, fishing, and skiing. And she leads several programs at her church, including a program called Grief Share, which provides much needed grief support to those who have lost a spouse or a loved one. She's grateful to be a member and active participant of the Rotary Club of Jacksonville, as its 4-way test aligns perfectly with her personal philosophy and goals. Linda has graciously accepted an invitation to use her skills and contacts to help us meet the goals of the Membership Development Committee. Next up, I've got Jean Miller. Jean's classification is Civic Council. She's the Executive Director, Jacksonville Civic Council. Her sponsor, there's a trend here, Cindy Stover. Thank you very much, Cindy, for helping us with the membership development. The first thing you need to know about Jean is she's a Navy brat. Her dad was a naval aviator and flew S-3s. Her mom was a DoD school teacher. Jean spent part of her time growing up in the Panama Canal Zone, and it does not appear to have adversely affected her. At least I don't think she has a Cudamonde for a pet. Jean has 2 daughters in their early 20s, and both are in college. Not surprisingly for a Navy brat, Jean enjoys water sports, paddleboards and kayaks. There's a trend here, Bill. Like many kids in military families, Jean was molded with the character trait of service above self by her parents. Another important mentor who inspired community service is John Thrasher, who encouraged Jean to attend FSU and get a law degree. Jean has been general counsel for FSCJ, the Regency Group, and was the City Hall General Counsel attorney. Jean serves on many boards, including Goodwill Industries, so obviously she's working with David, the YMC Metro Board, the Jacksonville Transportation Authority, and is the National Alumni Director for FSU. Jean was an EVE Award finalist in 2018. Clearly, Jean has sought to serve in many organizations. Jean's pleased to be a member of the Rotary Club of Jacksonville because she recognizes the impact a large organization with our reputation can have as a force for good. Jean has agreed to serve on the Public Image, Charter and Bylaws, and Foundation committees. Next, I have Rusty Creighton. His classification, Associations, Hume Foundation. Rusty's a fund manager for Sawgrass Asset Management. I am Rusty's sponsor. Rusty's from Indiana, and I like to think of him as a chicken farmer since he's on the board of his family's chicken business back home. Rusty came to Florida to attend Stetson University in DeLand, where he earned a degree in finance. Rusty moved to Jacksonville with Barnett Bank and got an MBA from UNF. Rusty's married to Carol Jo, a local Jacksonville girl, and they are our dear friends. Rusty's been my close friend for over 20 years. Like a lot of people, we got to know each other through our kids. Rusty was my son's 6th grade soccer coach, and his 2 boys, Stephen and Andrew, went to school with my son and daughter at St. John's Country Day School. Rusty and Carol Jo live between me and Whitey's Fish Camp on Doctor's Lake, so it's often that Michelle and I stop by to pick them up on the way for catfish and longneck Budweiser. Rusty has a much cooler boat than me, and we all enjoy his classic cruiser when he takes it out. So boating, sailing, and travel are Rusty's passions. Scott Eater put together a canal cruise on the Alsace-Lorraine region that included our wives a few years ago, and that was an absolute blast. Now, let me tell you, there's no greater test of a friendship than a week on a boat together, and we all survived intact. Now, Chris Michalakis raised the bar by organizing a trip to Tuscany last year, and we're all hooked on Sangiovese wine now. Rusty tells me that the reason he let me encourage him to join the Rotary Club of Jacksonville is for the fellowship and the opportunity to help the community. Rusty serves with me, John Fryer, and Sel Basarik on the board of Starbase, which is a program to teach STEM to 5th graders in Duval County. He's a member of the vestry board of Grace Anglican Church, and Rusty is also the treasurer and board of directors of Hume Foundation, which is a multi-million-dollar endowment with a mission to improve children's education, and he looks forward to working with all of us to do just that. Next, Melissa Rowe. Melissa's classification is Business Services, Restoration Services. Her sponsor is Rachel Mueller. Melissa was born and raised in Central California and relocated to Fleming Island, Florida in 2006. And though she misses her family dearly out in California, she considers Florida her forever home state. Melissa has 4 children. Mackenzie, 28, happily married and thinking about making Melissa a grandmother. Kyler, 23, who's in her last semester at UCF, so go Knights. Dakota is 16 and a sophomore at Fleming Island High School, where he leads the JV football team as quarterback. And Jackson, who's celebrating his birthday this week, it will be turning 15. Melissa and her business partner and fiance own 3 businesses together. Puro Clean is a property damage restoration and construction company, And after Melissa obtained her asbestos contractor's license, they opened Compass Abatement. Their latest business adventure is acquiring commercial janitorial company to accent their other businesses. Melissa and her family live on the St. Johns River, right here with me. And so on their free time, they like to be out on the boat, out on the water boating with family and friends. But she also loves fitness and watching HGTV home improvement shows. That's, she tells me, is her guilty pleasure. Melissa joined Rotary because she always wants to surround herself with others that will push her to do and be better at team building, fundraising, public speaking, planning, organizing, and communicating. Most of all, Melissa loves being in Rotary because it provides further experience in learning how to motivate, inspire, and guide others. Finally, I've got Zeus Gare. Zeus's classification is transportation, trucking. Zeus is the owner and CEO of Global Freight and Commerce. His sponsor is Bill Sorensen. Zeus grew up here in Jacksonville, graduating from Sandalwood High School in 1990. He was leading the state in football interceptions into the final games of the season. That was the year I moved to Jacksonville. Exciting to watch football here. Zeus was a two-sport athlete in football and basketball and played basketball for FSCJ for a couple of years before he joined the U.S. Army. While serving in the Army, Zeus attended the University of Oklahoma to finish his college degree. Zeus retired after a 20-year career in Army artillery and operations. Logistics is in his blood, and his career progression eventually brought him home to Jacksonville. In 2012, he started his current business. Zeus is passionate about youth and vocational service. I can't help but get caught up in his excitement when he talks about his mentoring programs. Along with fellow Rotarian Dr. Zachary Faison, Zeus is on the boards of dozens of nonprofits with the goal of providing youth with positive role models. Zeus is particularly focused on what he calls the last leg of the journey, business. He believes that for kids to succeed, they must understand business. Zeus and his wife, Chai, are succeeding with their own children. Both are in the ACE program at Fleming Island High School, and his daughter's a varsity cheerleader and his son a multi-sport athlete, probably playing with Melissa's kid. Zeus is a confirmed golf nut, and when I talked to him yesterday afternoon, he was just coming off the course at Eagle Harbor Country Club despite the heat and humidity. I see another player for our golf competition with Mennonite. Zeus is looking forward to leveraging the connections in our community to rebrand capitalism for the kids today to understand that success in business opens opportunities for life. I'd like to close with thanking all of our sponsors, Cindy Stover, myself, Rachel Mueller, Bill Sorensen, for bringing us this great group of people into Rotary. And I encourage all of you that are listening to continue to build our brand and to work on bringing quality people into our club. As Gene mentioned, it's the size of our organization and the reach that allows us to do so much good, and we certainly don't want that to dwindle. Thank you very much. Back to you, Jerry.
With Baptist hospitals around the world. He was Baptist Medical Center CEO and president nearly 20 years, where he also served as chairman of the board. He was a foreign service officer in the U.S. State Department in the 60s. He spent 3 years in the U.S. Embassy in Saigon, Vietnam during the war. During the 70s, he built and ran Baptist hospitals in Tanzania, East Africa, and Bangalore, India, before returning to the U.S. permanently in 1978. Chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, chairman of the Port Authority, as well as serving as president of our Rotary Club during 2012-2013. He and his wife, Julie, have a blended family of 6 children, 17 grandchildren, and 11 great-grandchildren. Bill will introduce today's speaker.
Okay. Thank you, President Jerry. Our speaker today is Michael Mayo, president of the Baptist Medical Center. Michael is a native of Alabama and a proud graduate of the University of Alabama, which he likes to brag about, saying they are the home of the great 7-time national champion Crimson Tide. But Michael has had a very long and distinguished career as a hospital administrator. Before coming to Baptist, Michael served as CEO of a very large Methodist medical center in Dallas, Texas, And he's now been with us here in Jacksonville at Baptist for over 20 years, where he is greatly respected and loved by his hospital staff. On the national healthcare scene, Michael is a member of the Board of Governors and a regent of the American College of Healthcare Executives, a very high national honor in the healthcare field. And also, Michael is in the process now of completing his PhD in health administration from the University of South Carolina Medical School. But over these past 6 months, Michael and his Baptist staff of physicians and nurses and employees have worked round the clock 7 days a week, caring for those in our community stricken with the coronavirus. This pandemic has obviously been an unprecedented tragedy for our country and for the world around us. But Michael and his staff have stood in the breach for our community and have served us with a superhuman effort round the clock these past many months. In my opinion, these and others like them are our community heroes to whom we owe a great debt of gratitude. And chief among them is our fellow Rotarian, member of our club, president of Baptist Medical Center, and our speaker today, Michael Mayo.
Mute yourself.
Thank you, Bill, for that introduction, and especially the nod to my Crimson Tide. I'm afraid, though, what I'm hearing is that we're not going to be playing football this fall, and I hope what I heard yesterday will not be confirmed before the week's out. But if it is, we'll just watch a lot of reruns, I'm sure. President Kelly and fellow Rotarians, thanks for this opportunity to share with you today. Let me pull my slides up and then I'll begin to walk us through this if I can. All right. Can everyone see those? Okay, great.
Yes.
Well, the title today I called The COVID-19 Crisis, a Complex Challenge Requiring Focus and Resiliency. A lot's been said about COVID, and I'm sure if you're like me, you've heard more than you want to hear. Although we thirst for that information because it seems to be the most highly rated medical topic on our mind. But what I want to do today, especially in honor of what Bill shared, is to recognize all of those in our community that are standing at the breach, at the bedside and caring for our patients during this crisis that reaches beyond the hospital and into the community, and a lot of collaborative work with other facilities and our public health department. So I wanted to take a different approach. I want to give you a behind the scenes look at what goes on in your local hospital as the work that we've done to be prepared, to assess, and to meet the need that's been required of us during this challenging time. And in order to do that, it takes some resiliency and focus. But first, let me just, for the moment, define again, what is COVID-19? First of all, it's a coronavirus, and it's a part of a large group of viruses that are seen in animals and humans, and it's commonly can circulate throughout the United States and normally causes upper respiratory symptoms. And this is what makes those with those preconditioned situations very vulnerable to this disease. For the most part, many people may have symptoms or not even have symptoms and be affected. But if you are suffering from one of those comorbidities or other medical conditions, it can be very deadly. And what is COVID-19? This is a disease that was identified in Wuhan, China. It's now being spread throughout the world. And we are being encouraged across our community and across the world to make common sense precautions to prevent the spread of this disease. So talking about resiliency, just a real quick definition, what does that really mean? You always think about bouncing back or return to a normal state, able to recover quickly. The three practices that we have tried to do within our facility is manage your personal energy, shift your vision or your lens, and then find your sense of purpose in this work. And then it takes focus. You're not going to complete this work without a great sense of focus and direction. So it's the center of our interest. It's our activity. It has defined us over these last several months. And we have been laser focused on meeting the needs of our community, and more importantly, those that find their way to our doors that need our help, and try to shut out all the other distractions that are going on to give our undivided attention to this task. So why would we do this? Clinical care requires a high level of professional discipline. There was a great article this weekend by Mark Wood that featured one of our intensivists, Dr. Jennifer Fulton. And if you have the chance to read that article, I encourage you to do so, because you'll get a really good behind the scenes look of the type of dedication and focus it requires by the professionals within our ranks to take care of these patients and lead through some of the most devastating situations. And yet, on the other hand, some great joy can be found in meeting this disease head on and seeing people conquer it. But we can be distracted because that leads to error, and our patients and our community depends on us at all times. So what I wanted to share, first of all, is run you through some things that we look at every single day as we prepare for our day and take on the events that we're faced with from one day to the next. This is, the next couple of slides are just an overview of a situation report that I receive every day. It comes with this information across this spectrum, and it's in concert with our local Jefferson County, Duval County EMS services. And you'll see what it gives us is statistics for the day across the country, our state, our county, and I can get a feel for exactly what's going on in what part of our community, how many tests are being run, how many positive tests, the percentages, and taking a look at the local testing site information as well. So these are the guidelines that I encourage everybody to follow. You've probably heard them a zillion times, but it's worth repeating one more time. Know how it spreads. Washing hands is the #1 way to prevent any kind of spread of infection or disease. Avoid your close contact and cover your mouth and nose with a cloth face cover. Mask up when you're around others. And of course, cover yourself when coughs and sneezes. And be just mindful of being clean and disinfectant in your daily health habits. And here's just a reminder of some of these things in a artistic form that we have distributed. This comes from the CDC, and we use these in a lot of different settings. We've been asked to bring these to schools for programs as well, and they've been very, very helpful. We also prepare information for our patients that are coming into our facility, because we're still taking care of folks. We are still doing surgeries, except for the period of time that the moratorium that the governor placed on us in order to regroup. We have been full speed at the Baptist facility downtown. And this is a checklist that we give our patients when they prepare for coming in for surgery. We pre-test them and then ask them to go into isolation until they return for the day of their surgery. We also communicate this information out to all of our community members via different mediums, social media, etc. And it just, again, reminds everyone the practices that you need to be following. And also, we want to continue to remind people that the hospitals are here, open, and available. It's very disheartening to learn that many people have actually foregone care because they thought that they couldn't come in or they were fearful. And we're trying to dispel that rumor and encourage people to be here if they need us. We do a lot of communications on a regular basis with our team members, keeping them up to date about what's going on, because our team members also are the biggest and the most important conduit for information to our community. So constant communication with them. And these are just a mini list of the things that we do almost every single day. One that is most important for me is the biweekly leadership calls that I pull all of our leaders on the Jacksonville campus together, and we talk about the events of the week and what's happening and deal with issues at hand. And then we have weekly hospital incident command center calls across our system of 5 hospitals. Our command centers have been in operation since March when this hit, and they're run on a daily basis, keeping track of some of the information I've shared with you, as well as monitoring our work across our system. This is a tracking chart that we use to look locally. another dashboard that we have our eyes on constantly. And what you can see here is information about all the hospitals in our community, looking at capacity in terms of what's happening in the county, look at the availability of types of beds that are needed, and that real crazy spaghetti chart there on your right looks at the inpatient population across our hospitals. But we're constantly keeping this information in front of us as we work through this crisis. Now, this is another report that we have put together within our OPI, our Operational Improvement Group, that we track every single day. I have this up on a screen and I look at it. It's updated every day. And I just thought you'd get a sense to see what we're looking at so we know exactly what's going on. These are our leading indicators. We look at ED testing volume, our inpatient volumes, the capacity that we have to care for our patients, and what are the chief complaints of people coming in, and is it for COVID or is it something else? This looks at the related chief complaints across all of our systems. This is a busy chart, but what it tells you, and as you move to the right, we are lowering the number of people coming into the EDs now that their chief complaint is symptoms related to COVID. That's predominantly not the case anymore. This looks at our ED volumes across our system. We track every patient, where they're coming from, how they're coming in, and look at what our capacity is with this, and the tests that we're doing every day, and the percentage of positives that are coming back. I look today, and we're actually, of the testing we're doing of patients presenting to our emergency department, we're at 0.33% are turning out positive. So we're seeing a lowering of that capacity of people coming in with positive testing at this time to the emergency department. This looks at our patient population across all of our units within our hospitals. Again, I apologize, it's a very busy chart, but I think you get the idea that we are constantly in our command center, we're looking at what's going on. Now, I pulled this report last week in preparation, and at this time we had 141 patients as inpatients across the Baptist System's 5 hospitals. Today, that number is a little under 140, and presently we stand at 57 patients positive within our facility on the Jacks campus. That's important to remember as I move forward in the presentation, because I'm going to show you some behind the scenes looks in the hospital and how we care for those patients. Again, we look at our response capacity in terms of our surge. If there's a surge, what is our bed capacity for COVID designated beds, non-COVID, because we have to segregate the patients and cohort them so that we don't spread the disease when they are within the confines of our facility. This takes a look at the leading indicators across our facilities, and you can see it tracks how many COVID positive patients we have at each facility at this given point in time, and our bed capacity and what's pending pre-surgery wise, and test results as well. And we even have a map here to the right that gives us an idea of the demographics of the geography as well. So that's a quick, boring look at the dashboards I'm looking at every day, along with the leaders across the Baptist system. But let's dive a little deeper, and let me show you, how did the facility respond when this hit? What did we need to do, and how are we going to be prepared? Well, first of all, we had to identify that we needed to have a cadre of negative pressure rooms for these patients that were positive. Now, normally in our units, we have 1 to 2 rooms on each unit that have negative air pressure. Most all patient rooms in hospitals are set at a neutral. In other words, negative means that you're not bringing anything out of the room when you open the door. It's taken out through the exhaust system. And so what we had to do in the areas where we could not outfit our air handlers with appropriate HEPA filters, we had to come in and add extra ability to pull that negative air and turn rooms into negative air pressure rooms. And this is our staff putting this together on one of our units here. The other capability was in our heart hospital, where we actually had air handling units that we could install HEPA filters. And then we also, for extra protection, utilize UV lighting within those systems as well. Many of you maybe even have this in your home HVAC systems to help keep fungus and other growth within your system. And then as an extra added measure, we take these HEPA filter units, what you see in blue, and they're connected to the room. And what this does is create a double protection. So when a caregiver is going in and out of the room, if you will, the trail of air or the flume that would come behind the individual as they came out the room, this would pull it back in and then run it through this machine, which HEPA filters the air and then puts it back out into the corridor safe. These HEPA filters actually are tested at a 99.97% accuracy up to 3 microns. And so that drives that ability to keep that particle carrying in the air sustained and caught in the HEPA filter operations. This is just another look at how we had to adjust the doors and make changes in order to make this happen on these designated units. In our ICU unit, where the most sick are held, those that had respiratory problems that had to be intubated, these are some shots of that unit, and you can see keeping morale and the engagement of our staff is very important. And so a lot of things going on. We have boards that people write notes to each other, encouragements, because it can be quite taxing working on these units. This is a picture inside of that unit, and what you see is how the rooms are set up and how the red area designated off as a control area. That you don't enter that without the proper PPE and masking on the unit. This also shows we have ready available all the PPE that's needed for staff, so this can be pulled off and used right away when they're working on that unit. Now, the other thing we did in terms of anticipation for more beds than we had capacity, looking at some of the predictive analytics, we actually, across 3 of our hospitals, Baptist South, Baptist Beaches, and Baptist Jacksonville downtown, in a matter of 30 days, converted 3 field hospitals. This is a picture of our field hospital on the Jacksonville campus. Before this happened, this was our cafeteria. And this was a space that we knew we could convert and get to quickly, stripped it down, and in cooperation with our partners at Miller Electric and WWGA, working 24 hours a day over a 4-day period, they constructed these individual head walls, which you see here, that contains medical gases, air, electricity, and 24-hour operation. And then we placed cots in front of each one of those head walls, ran outside O2 platforms to these units. And fortunately, I've not had to open this unit on the Jacksonville campus, but we have patients on their field hospital unit at our Baptist South facility and at Baptist Beaches as well. We did a run through as a practicum and used our own staff to see what it would be like trying to service patients in what looks like a major ward from probably the World War II era. But you do what you have to do in times of crisis, and we, not knowing what we were going to need in terms of bed capacity, wanted to be prepared. That's why we built this unit in addition to our designated rooms on other areas of the hospital. One of the other key components for us is the use of proper masking and decontamination of those masks, because it's very expensive to change masks out every single day on our campus, close to 3,000 team members. So we created our own by CDC guidelines, the ability to decontam our mask, and then we had to set up a logistics center in order to pick the masks up when they were dropped off, and then decontam them and then have them ready for redistribution every single day. We converted our DuPont auditorium on the Jax campus into the distribution center. So here you see you drop your mask off, and then you proceed into the room, sign in, and then you go down and look for your bag with your name and number on it. That is your mask that has been decontaminated, and then you pick it up and sign out with the young woman there and proceed around the corner to pick up any other type supplies. This is a shot of our auditorium, and every one of those bags has a team member's name on it and their serial number for their bags. It's for their mask, so to make sure they get the mask back that belongs to them every day from decontamination. The other thing that was important is we had to close the campus down and control entry. A hospital like ours has multiple areas of coming into, and we had to narrow that down to 3 entrances: our emergency department, our pavilion entrance, and this entrance for employees only coming into the Weaver Tower. But at all entrances, we employed infrared thermal screening to check temperatures for people coming in. This is one of the ways that you can at least try to identify folks that could be potentially symptomatic for disease. And so these infrared cameras are just like what is used at airports and in military operations. It utilizes technology that takes the ambient temperature of your skin and your forehead and picks up on this infrared camera. And as you walk through, if you were looking at the computer screen where these ladies are sitting, it would pop up an image of your outline, and it pops your ambient temperature on Fahrenheit above your head as you walk in. So you can see multiple people at one time. And if someone has a score of 100 degrees or greater, we pull them out of line and we do a second testing with a handheld thermometer. And if it still gets a positive reading, we pull them out and have them go to our employee health, and usually they're tested and sometimes put on quarantine at home. But this is the camera. You see the young ladies that are manning these entrances, and these are done 24/7 operation. The other thing is a lot of attention in a greater degree to cleaning and disinfecting. So this is an example of where our transporters, after every single movement of a patient, the transport stretcher is completely broken down, cleaned, disinfected before it's put back in service. And so our team members doing an extra double duty because we have a group that are doing this work while others are transporting patients as well. One of the things that's important during this time is to show appreciation of those that are working so hard at the front lines. And this was just our way to visually provide that. We had many members of our community reach out in so many ways, buying and delivering food, donations. It was just the outpouring was amazing in my mind. But this is where we tried to recognize our team members in a visual way when they come in and out of the hospital. This is another one where we recognize those team members coming into the main area of the hospital. And then we were blessed with 177 cases of Girl Scout cookies from Northeast Council. And there with me is my Chief Nursing Executive, C.C. Brooks. And we were constantly rounding, passing out not 1 or 2 cookies, but a whole box to team members. And that went a long way. It also gave me the opportunity to be out and about. One of the most important things during a crisis like this as a leader is to be seen, be present, and be leading from the front, not from the rear. And so I've been in the hospital every single day since this broke. I've not been at home during any time. I've been on duty with my team here, and I round on the units every single day, including the COVID units. I don't go into a direct patient room unless there's a particular circumstance, but I put PPE on and I round on those units because it's important that they see me and that I know what they see every single day and what they're facing. So for that, they're always very grateful. And here's in one of our units where they had received Chick-fil-A that day, and they just were wanting to express to me their appreciation for how we watch out for them and know what they're facing every single day. So I hope that has given you a little deeper insight that's, as they say, behind the numbers, because that's all we seem to hear about today is the numbers. But I wanted you to see what men and women that live and are your neighbors and in our community that are doing every single day to take care of patients. And we thank you for your interest in this and also for the outpouring support that we receive every single day. So thank you for allowing me to share with you, and I'll be happy to take any questions if there's time.
I would love to be able. So, Mike, we have a few questions. I'll read them to you.
Oh, that'd be great.
So the first one is, this is from Jim Agee. I am traveling to Alaska, a state that requires a negative rapid reply COVID-19 test administered within the last 72 hours prior to arrival. Does Baptist provide rapid reply tests?
The tests that we provide can happen within a 72-hour period, but let me forewarn you, the labs are overwhelmed, and it's very, very hard to find the type of test that you'll need, which is called a PCR test. You can receive that at one of our freestanding emergency departments if you present yourself but sometimes it's unpredictable in getting that result. Now, there are other ways to do that. LabCorp, which is one of our major labs, if you go online, labcorp.com Pixel, they do a Pixel testing that you can order a home test, and they'll mail it to you, and you can self-administer the test with a swab. And they tell me that there's a 24 to 48 hour turnaround time. The other option is there is a clinic in town doing COVID testing called Abyssinia. The problem, and you can get a 24-hour or less turnaround. The problem is those are not PCR tests. So you need to make sure where you're going and what tests they require. The main thing is make sure you time yourself to make sure you have plenty of time to be accurate and current.
So we have a question from Michael Biagini. In your opinion, how sensationalized is the media coverage of the pandemic? That's basically an opinion.
Yeah, that's a loaded question.
That is a loaded question. I'd stay away from that one.
Yeah, I'll just say that I appreciate the awareness that our media has made to this. And most importantly, what I've appreciated is how it has focused and highlighted our caregivers. The people are seeing what nurses do at the bedside. They're seeing what physicians do. And it's made a big difference because there's things that people never knew went on in the hospital and the hard work that happens. And I hope one of the outcomes will be that we see more younger people choosing to enter the healthcare field because of what they've seen and the work that's been being done.
So this question you've already answered, but there's a part of it's a little bit different. This is from Jack Sears, and it's in your opinion, why can't the rapid testing be made at all testing locations? Some people are waiting 3-4 days before they know if they've been tested positive or negative, only to have to, and that may affect other people. And he says the mental stress is very frustrating.
I agree. And as I stated before, part of the issue is the major labs that were prepared to run these type tests have been totally overwhelmed. For instance, LabCorp is our primary lab that we use. We also use Quest, and then we do lab work ourselves. We didn't have the lab molecular chemistry platform to run these tests, and we've just recently received it and are going to be able to provide more rapid testing. But what's happened is they have just been inundated with tests, and they've gotten behind in some places. They've also had equipment failures. The manufacturing of the kits that you use for these testings have become scarce in many cases. And worst of all, some of the companies are shifting their manufacturing because we're moving into the regular flu season to stop manufacturing the test kits to build the test kits for flu, just flu test kits. So it's a myriad of issues in terms of the logistics and the manufacturing companies for these services.
So Rachel Mueller would like to know, when the negative pressure rooms, where does the air go?
Once it has two ways of dispersion. In our HVA system that has the HEPA filters and the ultraviolet, when it comes back up through that system, it's exhausted into the air. And remember, I said that these HEPA filters are an accurate protection rate of 99.97% or down to 0.3 microns. The units you saw in the hallway function in the same way, and it just keeps that air when you open the door and come out, pull back into the room, and then it's filtered through that HEPA filter, and then it comes back out into the hallway.
And then with schools, this is from Bobby Brown, with schools reopening, is Baptist expecting uptick in new COVID cases, and how are you preparing for that?
That's a great question. I think we always have anticipate and have seen that when big events happen or there's a change in social activity, there is always the potential of new cases and a surge. And so what we do is as I showed these dashboards in our analytics, we're always trying to look at to determine what we're going to need and how many beds in case of people to be admitted. But the point also is more people tested, more positives, and a lot of people are positive and asymptomatic. And so the hope is that it's just like any other flu, that there becomes almost a herd immunity at some point in time as well.
So I think this will be the last question. Thank you so much for your time. And this is from Susan Masucci. Is there any truth related to the testing inaccuracy, particularly early on?
as I can tell you what I know is probably what you've seen in the news media that has been admitted to, that anytime there's mass testing and calculating this information, there's an opportunity for error relative to the types of tests, how many times you're being tested, and what's being reported. I think that in many cases, a lot of the systems just got totally overwhelmed, especially at the state level, reporting into the federal government. And I think that's where some of the inaccuracy took place.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us. And thank you always for the support this community and this club gives to our healthcare system and our team members. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone who volunteered to work behind the scenes to help start the new year. I've talked to many of you and want to know how much I appreciate your feedback, ideas, and comments. We have a lot of work to do, and I look forward to working with our committee chairs, growing our club, providing great programs like today, and seeking new ways to promote Rotary's great work in our community. Be sure to mark your calendar for October 24th. That's the district seminar on the 3 keys to success: membership, public image, and foundation. And as more information becomes available, I'll have it posted. Committee chairs will need to start communicating with your committees. Please review your committee list to make sure everyone who's on the committee knows they're on the committee, and let everybody know, or let me know if anybody is missing. Thank all of you for staying with us and staying engaged. Join us next Monday at noon, where we'll hear from Anthony Austin, the senior news anchor at First Coast News. Congratulations to all the new blue badges. And this will conclude today's meeting. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.